Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Lisa Erickson. We're going to go ahead and get started. And I am an energy worker. If that is not a term that's familiar to you, don't worry. I'll shed a little bit of light on it a little bit later on. I'm also a workshop leader and an author of Chakra Empowerment for Women and The Art and Science of Meditation, both through Llewellyn Publishing. And the techniques that we'll be doing tonight, or the main two that we'll be doing, are in this book. Others are techniques that I teach in the workshop that I do that accompanies this book. And I really wanted to do this workshop now at this time as we're heading into 2021 out of a very difficult year, because I specialize in women's energetics and trauma healing. And arguably, we are all in need of both of those this year. If you've been reading the headlines and some of the social science research from this year, you know that women have been hit particularly hard, both economically and in terms of caretaking. We have taken on the brunt of the homeschooling and supervising, distance learning, and all of these things that we've had to deal with in 2020. So now is the time to really regroup. And in order to do that, we need to connect with our energetic foundation. So that is what I am here to help you with tonight. I think the way I would like to start is I really want everyone to connect with this as an act of self-care. If you are like most women, you are fitting this in amidst a lot of other responsibilities that you have in your life. Chances are you don't have enough time to yourself. If that's not true for you, then great. But I want to really honor this 45 minutes to an hour. I'm hoping to come in at 45 minutes, we'll see, as an act of self-care. So how I'd like to start is with you just putting your hands over your chest, your heart chakra, your heart energy center, if you're familiar with that. And just breathe. And as you do so, you can close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. You can just lower your eyes perhaps so that you have a sense of going inward. And then bring your awareness as you breathe down from your chest to your belly. So see if you can focus on shifting from the rise and fall of your chest as you breathe, bringing your hands down to your belly, to the rise and fall of your belly as you breathe. And just expand your belly like a balloon as you inhale. Let it gently fall as you exhale. And now take your hands and put them all the way down, a little bit underneath your bottom if you can, or underneath your thighs. And drop your awareness even lower, all the way down to the base of your torso, where you are sitting, where your sit bones meet your chair or your cushion, whatever you're sitting on. Feel what it feels like to drop your awareness all the way down to the base of your body. And just focus there for a moment. And now what I'd like you to do, don't be self-conscious if you have your camera on, which I like because it gives me a sense of connecting, is I'd like you to invite you to sway a little bit. Feel that balance of your sit bones, you're solid on your base. And because of that stable foundation, you can bring a little movement in and just sway gently back and forth. And as you do that swaying, really focus on the feeling of shifting from one sit bone to another. And now that we've brought your awareness and your energy down, place your hands back over your chest, over your heart. And say aloud, if you're able to, this next hour is for me. I honor myself with this self-care. Good. Great. Okay. We'll dive in now. Just wanted to get us settled a little bit. What we just did, just bringing your awareness down and bringing your focus from breathing up here to breathing lower, are some of the best stress management techniques that we have. And what I'm going to try to do is bridge those with an energetic awareness to really explore what does it mean to develop resilience, what does it mean to manifest energetically, how it is connecting with our lower energy centers and our foundation contribute to trauma healing, to our immune strength, all of these things. The base of our energy body, which is what we were focused on in the lower body, is the foundation of our house. It's like the foundation of a house or the roots of a tree. And if that foundation is strong, then all of the rest of our energy is flowing smoothly. So, backing up a little bit, just in case there's anyone there that's really new to energy body teachings, which I love introducing people to energy body teachings, and I realize a lot of you may not be new to it at all, and we'll get to some more advanced stuff later on. But just in case you're brand new, I want to introduce it the way that I like to introduce it. We have an energy body just like we have a physical body, and it has an anatomy just like our physical body has an anatomy. And there have been different mappings of that anatomy that have come down to us through history, through really two branches of traditions. On the one hand, we have energy medicine traditions, and they really focus on the connection between our energy body and our physical body. Different energy centers or chakras in the body are linked to different organs, different physical systems, different glands, etc. Then, on the other hand, we have energy body mappings that have come to us from spiritual traditions. Yoga is an example, right? Yoga developed as a physical system that was not just based on muscles and our body, physical body, but on energy channels and chakras, cleansing the energy body, settling it in preparation for meditation for spiritual growth, right? So we have energy medicine, and we have spiritual traditions, and really all around the world, different energy body mappings developed to support one or the other, or in some cases, both of these. The word chakra, which I use to refer to energy centers, is a Sanskrit word. So that word is sourced in ancient India and in ancient Indian energy mappings, and it means wheel or wheel of light. But in fact, there have been energy body mappings all around the world. They didn't necessarily use the word chakra. What's really amazing when you begin to study some of them is how similar they are. This mapping of chakras up the center of the body is pretty universal. They may vary in number in terms of how many they consider to be primary versus secondary, but there's remarkable similarities. The energy system that we're going to use is the one that has become the most popular, really, I think, around the world. And that is a 7 chakra mapping that really relates to the main, or presents 7 main energy centers that correspond from the base of our spine, or into our feet and legs actually too, depending on the system you're working with, up to the crown of our head. And these colors you'll commonly see linked to them. It's the rainbow spectrum of colors. I use these colors sometimes, other times I don't. We'll experiment with them a little bit. Tonight, we're going to be really focused on the first 2 chakras. The focal points for these that we're going to use is your tailbone and sit bones, like we just did, and the pelvis, which is a particularly powerful center for women because it's linked into our womb center. Regardless of whether you still have a physical womb, this center is very, very important for women. So we're going to work with these 2 chakras, and I'm going to explain to you how critical they are right now. Within this spectrum of energy medicine and spirituality, I work very much in the center at a level of energy that connects to our emotions and our psyche. That can contribute to physical healing because from a holistic health perspective, our response to disease or even the cause of disease is often combined with psychological links, right? Then on the spiritual side, it is a method, working at this level is a method of clearing and strengthening our energy body in preparation for personal growth, which is part of a spiritual path, right? So I work right here in the center of these 2 traditions. And in a webinar like this, and in my books, I work with a lot of different types of things, and there's a lot of different ways to work with the chakras. Some of them that you may be familiar with are things like crystals, right, which really connect at the physical level of the chakras vibrationally. Colors, sounds, a lot of sound healing works with your energy body by bringing forth different frequencies. Your body responds to the frequency of the sound, and that creates different reactions in your energy body to balance, to clear, etc. Then there's contemplative traditions, right? There's pranayama and yoga, there's breathing techniques and visualizations where you're bringing energy up and down. There's yoga postures, etc. There's mudras, hands movements that are tied to different chakras. There's visualizations. What I like to do is I like to work with the three main access methods of visualization, right? So you're visualizing in your body, affirmations, and physical focal point, right? So the physical focal point is where you're focusing in your body. In a way, we just did that by having you focus on the base of your body. That's an example. Bringing your awareness down to focus on your sit bones is a way of connecting with your root chakra. It's that simple, right? Then color, we can bring in a visualization of a certain color light in that area, perhaps other structures, which is what we're going to do today, other visualizations that relate to the energies of a chakra. And then affirmations, which most of us are very familiar with these days, saying things like, I am safe and present in my body, while you're also combining that with focusing on your root chakra and perhaps also a corresponding visual. So those are the three access points, right? We're using words, affirmations, we're using visuals, and we're using a physical focal point. Really, anyone can do that. And what you can do is you can learn, if you spend some time doing that on your own with different energy centers, you can get to a place where you can activate that feeling in less time. So at first you may need to sit with a method of a certain visual, a certain technique for several minutes a day to accustom yourself to that feeling. Over time, you can learn to activate that on the spot. So that's what I kind of want to help you with today in particular. So let's get into this energetic base, your root chakra. And I'm going to really save questions for the end, but if you have something really pressing that comes up during the session, go ahead and put it into the chat and I will try to check in with that periodically. Otherwise, we will have some time for questions at the end. The root chakra, or this first chakra that we were focusing on, is the heart of our connection to our physical body. And so what happens when we're under stress is we tend to pop up and we're either spinning in our head or we're tensing. Perhaps when we think in terms of fight or flight, we go on the offensive. If we're someone who gets very irritated when we're stressed, right? All of our energy starts going out this way. If we're someone who just escapes, sort of either freezes or just like, I can't deal with that right now, right? We may go away. We may daydream. We may have more harmful escape patterns of, even rising to addictive patterns, different ways of disconnecting, right? So all our energy comes up here. When we do that, it's like a tree with no roots, right? So then the harder the wind blows, the more likely we are to get even more frazzled, even more worked up. Our emotions start to swing. Our physical health is compromised. All of this begins to happen, right? What happens on the physical level is our adrenals, which are linked to the root chakra, start to overproduce. Our stress point rises, meaning we're producing more adrenaline and cortisol, and our body's going into this physical stress response, right? What happens when we're under stress repeatedly is our average stress point, our average level of cortisol and adrenal and our blood pressure, things like that. They all rise to an average point, and then when something stressful happens, they go even higher, right? So part of what you're trying to do with any sort of mindfulness or stress management technique is bring your average stress point down. And all meditation can be helpful with this, right? But what's particularly powerful about working with the root chakra, linking that energy body into the physical body, is then you're also accessing this energy of the root chakra, which when it's open, creates a feeling of safety in the body, a feeling of presence in the moment. And that begins to flood through your energy body, and it actually shifts your whole state of awareness. So that's what we really want to do, get you anchored into that foundation and then feel that flow going up through all of your chakras. So the first thing I want to do, as an exercise, since some of you may be new to the chakras, is we are going to anchor into that root chakra. And we're going to really try to feel grounded and present in that. And then we're just going to move up each of the 7, and we're just going to say one word, and you're going to try to feel that state as we flow upwards. And then we're going to come back down to anchor in the root chakra and give you this taste and this flavor of what it really means to work with the chakras when you have this base anchored. So I'll invite you again to sit up, nice and straight, if possible, not to the level of discomfort, but if you're able to have a straight spine, that's always helpful when working with the chakras, because it also aligns this central channel that the chakras are upon. Take a couple of breaths. That was a lot of information. I tend to I'll talk 10 minutes, a big chunk, then we do an exercise. So that'll be the pattern. So now you've absorbed all this. Come back down and down again. And bring your awareness to your tailbone and your sit bones. This triangle, right? This base. This triangle that forms the base of your body. And what does it feel like? Are you on a soft cushion? Are you on a harder chair? Just notice what's going on at the base of your body. Maybe move a little bit again to really get your awareness dropped down. Notice how it keeps wanting to pop up, and bring it down. Now here at your tailbone, or perhaps under your whole base, visualize a red disc of light or a red sphere of light. And as you focus on this physical focal point, remember the axis method number 1, this red disc of light, axis point number 2, you're going to use the third method, the affirmation. Say, I am safe and present in my body. I am safe and present in my body. Now, let's take a moment to really cultivate those 2 feelings. What does it mean to feel safe? Settle into really feeling safe, like you're cocooned. What does it mean to really feel present? Take a moment to notice the sounds besides my voice that might be around you. Any other sensations in your body? Just practice mindfulness of your senses to bring you into this present moment. Now, with this space of feeling safe in your body, grounded in your lower body, in this root chakra, present to this moment, we'll rise up through the other 7 chakras, just doing one word on each, and feel how the energy flows when that base is present. So bring your energy, your awareness up into your pelvis. If you like, you can take your hands, place one on top of the other. Just place them about 4 or 5 inches below your navel, aligned with your hips. And just inside your pelvis there, visualize an orange light. So again, with our 3 access methods, your physical focus is now in your pelvis. You're imagining orange light in this part of your body. And the word we're going to use is fluidity or flow. So just say fluidity and flow. If you like, even sway a little bit to get that sense of fluidity and flow. Take your hands, move them up to your navel, which I use as the focal point for the third chakra, as opposed to the solar plexus, but it rules the whole area if you're used to the solar plexus. It's the same chakra. And have your hands right there at your navel and just visualize yellow light inside your body, just below your navel. Again, affirm that strong base. Here at your navel, there's yellow light. And the word we're going to use is centered. So we've gone from safe and grounded and present to flow to centered. Feel very centered as you focus here at your navel center. Come up to your heart center. You can place one hand on top of the other on your chest, or you may want to do prayer hands and have your thumbs touching right here. Inside your chest, in the middle of your chest, visualize a beautiful green light like a spring leaves, the green of spring leaves. And just say compassion. Towards yourself, towards others, just compassion. Now come up to your throat. You can gently touch one or more fingers here at your throat. Maybe hum for a moment to help you connect there. You can just gently go hum. Visualize blue light here at your throat. My dog is exercising their throat chakra. And just say clarity. Clarity. Now come up to your third eye, sixth chakra. If you like, you can take one finger, just press it just a little bit above the midpoint of your brow line. You don't have to do that, but sometimes it can help you bring your focus up. Remember that base is still there. We're building on the base rather than leaving the base. Visualize inside your body white light. You can use purple here, which is the standard rainbow spectrum, but I like to use white. And say insight. Affirming your insight. Now come up to the crown. You can touch the top back part of your head if you like, or hold your hand a little bit above it. And just say faith. And this can be spiritual faith. It can be faith in yourself, faith in a certain value system. Now we're going to go back from that base all the way up through all the chakras again to try to get this sense of flow. So see if you can bring your awareness all the way back down to the base of your body. We brought it all the way up, all the way back down to the base. What does it mean to bring your attention back down to the base of your body? Feel your sit bones. If you like, visualize the red light again. Say safe, grounded, present. This is your anchor. Bring your awareness up into your pelvis. Orange light if you like. Flow. Bring your awareness up to your navel. Yellow light, if you want to work visually, centered. All the way up to your heart. Green light, if you want to work visually, compassion. Up to your throat, blue light, clarity. Up to your third eye, white light, insight. Up to your crown. You can use gold light, you can use indigo, which is the classic rainbow. I like to use gold up here, like a halo. Faith. Good. Now with that very simple chakra meditation, you could call it, I really consider it energy work because we are specifically activating the flow up after really establishing that base. And that's exactly what this does. It creates a connection and a full body flow to balance out the chakras on a very basic level that's anchored, right? So it's like creating the roots of the tree and then moving up the tree all the way up. And it's good to do it at least twice because the second time through, hopefully you experienced this sense of the difference as you moved your awareness up. What sometimes happens when we just work with the root chakra, which we are going to do in a little bit, is that we get drowsy. Because in fact, in this culture, we aren't attuned to our energy body unless you've done some training in it. And so we tend to associate alertness with a very busy mind and with all of our energy being up here, or perhaps in the navel chakra being very assertive physically. As soon as we're asked to drop down into the root chakra, a lot of people just get drowsy, right? Because it feels as if, to them, it doesn't feel as if they're awake because they're used to alertness being up here. So what we want is an alertness of body that isn't based on fear, right? Isn't based on being in this hypervigilant state. This alertness of body that comes with being anchored in the root with a flow all the way up, right? So this is a very basic thing that you can do. Really spend some time on the anchor and then flow all the way up to anchor and feel that flow. Now let's get more into the significance of that those first and second chakras. So the first chakra, as I said, it's linked to our physical body. So what can happen is someone can do, utilize other forms of energy medicine or holistic medicine. Acupuncture is an example, Reiki, other kinds of work. And they feel as if they get a boost immediately after the session, but long-term, there isn't any improvement in whatever they're working with. In that case, often what's going on, this isn't always the case, but often what's going on is there isn't a solid link between the energy body and the physical body. So there's this temporary sort of feeling better as the energy system gets balanced by whatever modality is being used. But because there isn't a permanent link, the person has a lot of their energy in their upper chakras or out of their body a lot of the time. It can't take on the physical level. The change and the healing can't take place on the physical level. Likewise, if someone experiences a lot, getting sick a lot of colds and things like that, that can represent, or it can correspond to, not being fully anchored into the root chakra. Now, of course, I actually am a proponent of combined medicine, of complementary medicine, of working holistically. So taking advantage of what traditional medicine has to offer, allopathic medicine, also naturopathic medicine, et cetera, in addition to energy medicine. But when you're working at the energy level, what it can do is it can help the other methods take. So you aren't just constantly treating symptoms. You're getting to a place where you're actually curing the underlying patterns that are contributing to the ongoing disease. And if you're being treated for something chronic or severe, root chakra work can increase the capacity of your body to receive that treatment and stimulate the changes that need to occur at the physical body level that treatment is trying to bring about. So if someone is very disconnected from their root chakra, that can inhibit other methods from working. The other thing that it can inhibit is our ability to manifest, right? The upward pathway of the chakras, which I just took you through, is the spiritual pathway. It's moving from body, which is the root chakra, up into spirit, which is the crown, to put it simply, right? And there's a lot of meditation techniques that particularly focus on that, right? That come out of this spiritual branch that I was talking about of practices. But the downward path of the chakras is how we create things in the world, right? It's going from ideas, perhaps inspiration, to ideas, to communication, to networking, to action, all the way down into birthing it in the world. That's how we create things, whether it's a business, a human being, right? Or anything, right? Just a party, an event we're throwing, anything that we create, that we bring into the world, it's a downward path to execute it. So what can happen is someone, if all their energy's up here, they're very full of ideas, but can never actually complete, right? Can never actually complete. There is a block to sort of birthing at that root chakra level, bringing it into the manifest physical level. Now, that's not just, I wouldn't just work with the root chakra on someone who's having manifesting issues. There's different places, things that can be reflected. But that's one of the things, the reasons that that anchored root chakra is so important, so that you can really birth, you can really manifest at that physical level. The other thing is then, as it relates to overwhelm and stress, right? Which so many of us are feeling this year, and women have borne the brunt of that. As I already spoke about, part of managing stress is being able to lower your stress response, right? You can't control everything that happens to you. If you can change your life so that you have less stress, great. If you can't, if you're in circumstances, as so many people have found themselves in 2020, in which they can't, then it's about being able to develop a response to stress that is healthy for yourself. And that's really about resilience. Resilience, I define it as presence plus flow, right? So presence is that feeling really anchored in the root chakra, as opposed to getting triggered into fight, flight, or flee. And then flow is really the second chakra, the ability to adapt and adjust to change, or adjust to whatever is happening. Those two things are the root of resilience. What happens when we don't have that sense of resilience? Something happens that challenges us, and we go into one of our habitual patterns, which may be trying to get control of it. So we get very overwhelmed, like that we have to get it back under control, and we get into kind of a hyperactive mode, or we check out, right? Different variations on fight or flight. A control mechanism, an escapist mechanism. There can be other branches in between there, but those are the most responses, habitual responses go one of those two directions, right? And both are not anchored in this sense of resilience. Okay, I can stay present with what is happening without reacting, going into habitual reaction, and then I can adjust and adapt. All of those energies are really root and sacral chakra energies. So that's why we really want to be anchored in those energies to deal with our stress response. And when you work with the chakras in this way and you spend time on your root and sacral, it starts to change your patterns, your habitual patterns. They just start to change naturally as you bring more of these energies into your body and your psyche. Okay, so safety, grounded, present, energized is the last one. When we are disconnected from our root, and especially when we're up here, or if we're in a really hypervigilant state in response to stress or escapism, it's exhausting. It's really exhausting. And it's funny because it can feel like, how could escapism be exhausting? But if you've been, you've done a lot of Netflix binging, you'll at some point in the pandemic, you've probably discovered for this already, it's like, it's really exhausting afterwards, right? When you're not present in your body, you just start losing momentum, and you can get into this funk, right? And that is what slides into, it can slide into depression, right? You can slide into a numbed, unpresent state that slides into a state of depression, which is happening for all too many people right now. We really are experiencing a mental health crisis right now. Or if you're in this hypervigilant control state, and that's your pattern for trying to manage everything, That's not sustainable. That's being in your, I liken it to being in your navel chakra, which is really active, right? And likes control. And that's helpful in some cases. But if that's all you're doing, it's like you have all this energy at your navel, but it's not sourced from underneath. The root and the sacral aren't fueling that activity. So it's like you're an island trying to self-generate all this energy. And at a certain point, you just run out of fuel and you just crash, right? So both reactions to stress or both habitual patterns are really, really exhausting. In order to maintain our sense of vitality and energy, we need this sense of earth energy coming up, right? Coming up into our physical body. The physical body is material. And we need the sense of this energy coming up from the earth, fueling our root and coming all the way up into our whole system. So the energy technique that I've designed, that I have in Chakra Empowerment for Women, linked to the root chakra, which is the next thing that we're going to do, and then I'll talk about women's energetics and trauma, is called the root bowl. And it's one of 12 techniques in the book, and I'm just going to show you a picture of it right now so you have this visual to work with. This is the root bowl right here. This one right here. And this is what we're going to visualize. Red light coming up from the earth. If you don't like red, you can work with another color. But in this book, I'm using the rainbow spectrum. Red light coming up from the earth into your tailbone and your sit bone area, right? Some of it's branching off to create a bowl that you're sitting in. And really, I like to visualize the bowl coming up higher to the shoulders. This bowl is creating the sense of safety, and we'll build that first. The feeling of groundedness and safety. I'm sitting in this protective bowl. Then the earth element is flowing up from the root all the way up to the crown, like we just did. We won't stop on every chakra. We'll just imagine it coming up. That is the feeling of vitality and energization, right? So this visual represents all of those primary, it activates all of those primary functions of the root chakra. And if you feel you need a lot of work on your root chakra, I would recommend doing this technique for a few minutes a day for 4 weeks and see what happens. See what changes in your response to stress, see what changes in terms of your immune function, your sleep, your ability to get things done. It's amazing the amount of changes that can happen just by focusing on your root chakra if that part of your foundation has not been present. So I'll be describing the visual, but I just want to give you one more look at it. The earth energy is coming up to your root. Part of it's creating a bowl that you're sitting in that protects you. Part of it is vitalizing the rest of your energy body by coming up the central channel to your crown. Okay. Before we do that, let's see on time. Yeah, I'm gonna switch things around a little bit and do one more, describe one more thing so we can do 2 exercises together. I want to talk about trauma, and especially sexual trauma. This is one of my specialties, but all trauma tends to have, especially any physical trauma that someone has experienced at some point in their life. So this can be abuse or assault. It can also be an accident, a car accident, obviously war, other kinds of attack. It can also be emotional abuse and those kinds of traumas or sudden events. But physical trauma in particular often creates this rift with our root chakra because that's linked to our physical body. There can be this sense that the body is not safe, or our sense of safety in our body is disrupted. And if that's not reclaimed, there can be disassociation from the body that develops, right? Even in someone who's very healthy. Like sometimes I'll work with individuals who they exercise a lot and they're like, no, I couldn't be disconnected from my root chakra because I exercise every day, I'm very physical, but in fact, they're very tied to the way their body looks, body image, as a way to being present in their body with how it feels, right? So it's not just about being physically healthy doesn't necessarily mean your root chakra, your connection to your root chakra, couldn't benefit from more work, because it's really about that feeling of presence in your body, relating to your body with a sense of appreciation and this energetic vibration, this flow coming up from the earth. So what happens if someone has disconnected from the root due to trauma is it's really like the whole energy body is floating up above like a balloon. So what I'm going to do right now is a general healing around that to help you pull, if there's any part of you floating off, habitually pull it down and anchor it into your root chakra. And then we're going to do the root bowl. So this first part is what I would call distance healing, meaning I'm using my own awareness to help you anchor back into your roots so you can feel what that feels like. And then we're going to do the root bowl, which is the guided activation that you can do on your own. Okay? Okay. So settle back down. I had my latest burst of speaking, so you can now come back down after absorbing all that information. Take a breath. Reconnect again with that base of your body, your sit bones, your tailbone, that base. Now, what I want you to do is imagine that a balloon, there's like a balloon in the shape of your body floating up ahead. And oh, someone is texting me. I'm just going to respond to this question and we'll keep going. Yes, there is a recording that will be sent out tomorrow. So you will get a recording. Imagine that there is a energy formation in the shape of your body, but it's floating a little bit above your head. So your head, your shoulders, perhaps your whole torso are up above your body in this energy shape, right? And imagine now, and you can even use your hand, that you're grabbing the string attached to that balloon and pulling it down. And you're pulling it down until this whole energy body clicks into place, completely in sync with your physical body. And the energy body hooks in at the root chakra. It's like a click. Your whole energy body synchronizes with your physical body and it clicks right in. And then affirm that sense of safety. See if this feels different. See if you feel some part of you wanting to pop up, right? Which is very common. Then just keep pulling it back down. Hook into your root. Now imagine that red light, like in the picture from deep in the earth, beneath the foundation of your home, deep in the earth, red light is flowing up to just below your body. Just below where you're seated, it's branching off to create a bowl around you. And the bowl is not just to the sides like in the picture. It's a three-dimensional bowl. So it's in the front of you and behind you too. It's coming up to about shoulder height and it feels like a cocoon. You feel safe. You feel protected. You're sitting in this bowl created for you by the earth. Then imagine from this nexus just below your body where the earth is sending up light, that a beam of light comes up into your tailbone. And while you're sitting in this bowl, this beam of light comes up your spine. Just inside your spine, kind of on the inside part. And it flows up your lower back, your middle back, navel heart height, up behind your chest, up through your neck, all the way up to the crown of your head. And it creates a tingle and a feeling of vitality all the way up. First, let's affirm the grounding and just say, I am grounded. Affirm that connection to the earth. Or I am anchored. Next, let's affirm the feeling of safety. So focus on the bowl and the protection that it offers you. And say, I'm safe and protected. Then focus on the flow of light coming up your spine. Say, I am vital and energized. Now focus on this sense of being resilient. You can handle from this present state anything that arises. Say, I am fluid and resilient. Good. Okay, good. Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about women's energetics, and then we'll open it up to questions, and then we'll end. I want to honor your time. We didn't quite get to do the sacral lotus, the second chakra one, but we'll have to do that on another time. So in women's energetics, what's interesting is that if you really study texts from around the world, there are at the level, kind of the energy medicine level, right? At the spiritual level, the light is ungendered, right? But at the level at which the chakras, the energy centers connect to the physical body, there are differences, right? And in general, the masculine energy body tends to be anchored in the root chakra tied to the physical body. Women's energy bodies tend to be anchored in the second chakra. It's like our energy is already pooled up in that womb center, which does not in any way mean we are defined by our procreative function at all. It just means those energies are particularly alive in us, however we choose to use them. The energy of creation, of creativity. The other energies linked to this chakra are emotional energy and flow and fluidity, the ability to flow, right? That's what the sacral chakra brings in terms of resilience. If we're in a grounded place with our root, then the sacral chakra brings in this energy of being able to adapt and flow. It's also linked to sensuality and sexuality, but really a much more refined understanding of those than is what is usually represented in our culture. The representation of sexual energy in our culture is very much root chakra. It's very much just physical, right? This is more about intimacy and flow and the flow of energies. That's all the energy linked to this chakra. It's a yin chakra. Both men and women have all of the chakras, right? So it's not about separating out what energies we each connect to, but because we are anchored in this second chakra, which is a yin receptive chakra, we tend to be natural empaths. We tend to be more absorbent of others' energies. Of course, there's a lot of conditioning factors associated with that as well. We're often conditioned to people please. We're often conditioned to take responsibility for others' emotions in a room, right? So all of that contributes to us always feeling out what is everyone feeling, and perhaps having the tendency to manage that and take those emotions into our body. So the other thing that really, to balance that out, that's really important is that we develop a sense of boundaries. And boundaries are anchored in the root chakra as well. They're rooted in the navel and the root together, really form our most basic sense of being able to boundary ourselves empathically and not take on others' energy. But you can do all the boundary work in the world, all the affirmations you want around boundaries, and it just will never take unless you have this solid root chakra. So again, having that foundation is so important to then be able to also work with your navel and these willpower and self-definition to be able to draw both psychological and energetic and emotional boundaries around yourself when you want to. So that is one of the most important functions of the root chakra too. The other thing about women's energetics is that our energy changes. It shifts, it waxes and wanes with our menstrual cycle while we're still menstruating. During pregnancy, it shifts. Postpartum, during perimenopause and menopause, it shifts. It's actually extremely powerful. We have what's really called Kundalini bursts during perimenopause in our 40s as we're heading into menopause. And then postmenopausal, we really have a whole nother access to our energy body that if we're not trained in, right? But if we become trained into it, it can really be this whole second act, or for some women, a third or fourth act, depending on what you've done with your life. It is a time in which our spiritual gifts and energetic gifts, our intuition, healing abilities, other things like that, really should come to the fore. They really should be coming forth because we can shift our identification from solely being on the physical to the energetic. In order to do that, though, again, you know what I'm going to say, you have to have this anchored root chakra so you can handle these surges of Kundalini energy as they occur in perimenopause, this time of great change, in order to take advantage of them. Or post-menopause, the ability to move energy through so that you don't just become static, which can become one of the risks post-menopausal, of becoming very static after all of the upheaval of the perimenopausal phase. So again, that root chakra is the anchor for being able to take advantage of all these women's energetic teachings and really come into whatever phase of life that you're in, knowing how to work with your body. As women, we receive a lot of, we don't receive a lot of positive messages around our female functions. That's changing, but really the focus for a long time was on minimizing the impact or the inconvenience of menstruation, pregnancy, perimenopause. How do we medicate the symptoms, right? And I'm not against medicating any discomfort, but the message behind that is really that these functions, they're just physical and you need to medicate them as if they're a disease, as opposed to owning them as linked to an energetic cycle and an energy body. So that kind of messaging also contributes, along with sexual trauma and the sexual messages around the objectification of the female body. They all contribute to us disconnecting from our relationship to our body, which contributes to us potentially disconnecting from that root chakra, that energetic base that we need for all of our personal power. So that's how this all ties in together, whether you are seeking to reprogram your response to stress, manifest new things in your life, develop better boundaries, heal from trauma, especially sexual trauma. Whatever you're trying to do, you need this energetic base in order to really connect with your energy body, your spiritual gifts, and all of the other things that are available to you through the magic that is your energy body and your energy body teachings. So I invite you to continue with these 3 techniques that I taught you tonight: the base, and then going up through the chakras twice at least, just saying 1 word at each after you've spent time at the base. Second was the energy balloon, really pulling it down, especially when you feel spacey or like you may have gone into a disconnected, dissociative state, or you're just very busy. Bring that energy balloon down into your base. And then third, this root bowl, right, which is in Chakra Empowerment for Women, this earth energy coming up, creating a bowl and creating vitality up the center of your body. And I will stand for a couple of questions, but just in case anyone needs to leave, I will be doing the next round of my Chakra Empowerment for Women course, which goes along with the book. It starts January 26th. Everyone who signed up for this webinar will be offered the early bird pricing, and that will open up tomorrow. First, the link will be sent out to all of you, and then it'll open up to other people in December. So the early bird pricing for that whole course is available through December. So I hope you'll consider joining me for that. And I'll send you the link to that so you'll see everything that's offered in that course, and it'll really walk you through all of these different things. One of the questions we have here. So I hope that you will join me for that, for the Chakra Empowerment for Women course, and or check out the book, which is available everywhere. And with that, many blessings. For those of you that are able to stay, I will answer a couple of questions. We have one now. How often do we practice this technique? Is it effective with men as well? The root bowl is effective with men. Most men, however, are fairly anchored in their root chakra. Of course, if they've experienced trauma, they may have patterns of a disassociation. But with men, I tend to need to work more on fluidity, right? Women tend to have the fluidity down because of that anchoring in the second chakra. With the root bowl, I would recommend, if you feel that you have some of these issues that I talked about that you're really trying to correct, you do it for 2 or 3 minutes a day for 4 weeks and see what happens. And you'll have this recording, but also there's a recording of it on the book website, Chakra Empowerment for Women. I've recorded all of the techniques. The picture is not there. You would have to get the book to have the picture. But that's what I would recommend, and then see where you're at after 4 weeks. I think you'll be amazed at what occurs. Thank you. It was uncomfortable to be in my body, but I did my best. Layla, well, good for you for really trying. And yeah, it can be very uncomfortable to feel in our body if we have fear around that. And that's what we're really trying to heal. So even just doing it a minute a day will start to reaccustom you to relating to being in your body in a new way. And that can be life-changing because it will allow other techniques to unfold for you and work for you. Thank you, Fiona. Good to see you. Helen, thank you so much. Lisa, thank you. I highly recommend Lisa's course. Thank you, Angela. Yeah, I'm in the second round of the course. I've run it twice this year, and this next round will be January 26th. Gee, thank you, Charles. Thank you. Well, thank you all. I know I talk a mile a minute, but I just am very passionate about this, and I want to share these teachings with all of you. So I really appreciate you joining me tonight, wherever you are in the world. I wish you a good evening, a good morning, whatever you have going on. So thank you. Bye-bye.